For many students, the transition to college has not been easy. College is a happy time, but it presents challenges. Debt piles up, deadlines loom, new relationships form and sometimes fail. Family demands are going to continue. We have big exams or class presentations that make us tense. Stuck in traffic, late to class or work, our mood may turn sour. It's enough to give us a headache or disrupt our sleep. It's no wonder that 85% of college students have reported occasional or frequent stress during the past 3 months. Stress is a part of life, and it may come to us without warning. So during the course of this small lesson, I hope to answer the following questions. What are the 4 components to a stress response? What are the 4 main categories of stressors? How do we respond to stress, and how does it affect our health? And what are some of the strategies for alleviating stress? So first of all, what is stress? Stress is any circumstance that may be real or perceived and threatens one's well-being, or perceived to threaten one's well-being. So stress is the process of appraising an event or as threatening or challenging and responding to it. If you have prepared for an important math test, you may welcome it as a challenge. You'll be aroused and focused, and you will probably do well. Championship athletes, successful entertainers, and great teachers and leaders all thrive and excel when aroused by a challenge. But extreme or prolonged stress can harm us. So does stress serve a purpose? Stress is not merely a stimulus or a response. It's a process by which we appraise and cope with environmental threats and challenges. As mentioned before, it can be a means to help motivate us if we look at it as a challenge, or it pushes us to excel and do things that we may not thought we were capable of doing. So when it's short-lived or taken as a challenge, stressors may have positive effects. However, if stress is threatening or prolonged, it can be harmful. Stress is a slippery concept. In every life, we may use the word to describe threats or challenges, or to describe our response to those events or challenges. Psychologists use more precise terms. They use the terms stressors and stress reaction. So first of all, we have stressors. This is a stressful stimulus or a condition demanding adaptation. This is basically the thing that is causing the stress. Or the challenge. This is called the stressor. We also have the stress reaction, or the responses that are the stress reaction, or the process in which we interpret the stress. So the physical and mental challenges that occur in response to the challenging situation or threatening situation, that's our reaction to it, the way we react to the stressors, the thing that causes the stress. The events of our lives through a psychological filter, and that's where stress appraisal comes in. How we appraise an event influences how much stress we experience and how effectively we respond. When facing the challenge or stressor of a tough math test, this is a previous example that I've given you, we appraise a situation, and we can either appraise it as a challenge and respond being motivated, focused, and facing it head on, and thinking it as a great opportunity to show what we can do, or we can appraise it as a threat, become intimidated, and think it's beyond our abilities, and it will lead to anxiety or fear. How we appraise an event influences how much stress we experience and how effectively we respond. Stressors fall into 4 main types. We have catastrophes, which are unpleasant, large-scale events. Significant life changes. These are personal changes in our lives. We have chronic stressors. These are stressors that occur over a long period of time. And then we have daily hassles. These are day-to-day challenges. Now, all can be toxic. They can increase our risk of disease and death. So first, let's talk about catastrophes. Catastrophes are unpredictable large-scale events such as earthquakes, floods, fires, and storms. Even though we often give aid and comfort to one another after such events, the damage to emotional and physical health is significant. In surveys taken in 3 weeks after 9/11, the 9/11 terrorist attacks, for example, we have 58% of Americans said that they were experiencing greater than average arousal and anxiety. In 4 months after Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans, they reportedly experienced a triple suicide rate. Okay, so this is a very significant stressor. It's sudden, unexpected, potentially life-threatening experience or traumas. These are like major natural disasters, accidents, going to war, death of someone close to you, these kind of things. Next, we have significant life changes. Now, these are life circumstances that create demands to which one must adjust, and not all of them are bad. A lot of them are very good things, but they are life changes. Our lives will not be the same after these things happen. These are things such as having a wedding, having a baby, moving. Okay, so during significant life changes, we may experience stress. But even happy life changes, such as marrying the love of your life, can be a stressor. So can other personal events. Leaving home, becoming divorced, having a loved one die. These life changes often happen during young adulthood. Stress of those years was clear in the recent survey that asked, are you trying to take on too many things at once? Those who reported the highest stress levels were women and younger adults. About half of the people in their 20s, but only 1/5 of those over 65 reported experiencing stress during a lot of the day yesterday. So this time period in your 20s is often when these kind of things are happening, and so that kind of explains how these big life changes can add to your stress. So next, we have chronic stressors. So chronic stressors are those that continue over a long period of time. This is living with in a dangerous neighborhood, prolonged illness, a stressful job, or unemployment for a long time. So these are the things that continue over a long period of time and really begin to take a toll on us mentally and physically. So all of these things added together, I mean, being in a dangerous area for one small day or two is probably not it'll be stressful, but it's not going to take a huge toll on you. It's when you're living in that neighborhood and you have bars on your windows and you're having to worry about your safety day after day after day. And especially with not being able to have a job when you have chronic unemployment, not knowing when you will finally find a job is stressful, especially for those who are trying to provide for a family. So the next one is daily hassles. These are just the irritations, pressures, annoyances that might not be significant alone, but they really add up. Things like traffic, waiting in lines, homework, deadlines, all the hustle and bustle of life that sometimes make life a little bit more stressful. So events don't have to remake our lives to cause stress. Stress can often come from these daily hassles. The spotty cell phone connections, irritating housemates, long lines at the store, too many things to do, email, text and spam, and loud cell phone talkers. Some people simply shrug off hassles. Others find them hard to ignore. This is especially the case for many Americans who wake up each day facing budgets that just don't stretch to the next paycheck. Housing problems, solo parenting, poor health, perceived discrimination, and unreachable goals. Such stressors can take a toll on physical and mental well-being. So we have general adaptation syndrome that we're going to be talking about next. So this is the concept of the body's, well, first let's talk about fight or flight, actually. This is an emergency response in which the sympathetic nervous system mobilizes energy and activity for attacking or escaping a threat. So our response to stress is part of a unified mind-body system. Walter Cannon first realized this in 1920s. He found that extreme cold, lack of oxygen, and emotion-arousing events all trigger an outpouring of stress hormones from the adrenal glands. We talked about those in an earlier unit. When your brain sounds an alarm, your sympathetic nervous system, which we talked about in our nervous system unit, It responds. It increases your heart rate and respiration and diverts the blood from your digestive organs to your skeletal muscles. This dulls your feelings of pain and releases sugar and fat from your body's stores. All this prepares your body for the wonderfully adapted fight or flight response, preparing for an emergency threat. We're trying to attack or escape the threat. Okay, so next we have the adaptation syndrome. So this is the concept of the body's adaptation response to stress, and this happens in 3 different stages. We have alarm, resistance, and we have exhaustion. So let's talk about these each in detail. In phase 1, you have an alarm reaction as your sympathetic nervous system suddenly activates. Your heart rate soars, your blood races to your skeletal muscles, and you feel faintness and shock. Next we have phase 2, which is resistance phase. Your temperature, blood pressure, and respiration remain high. With your resources mobilized, you are ready to fight back. Your adrenal glands pump stress hormones into your bloodstream, and you are fully engaged. You're summoning all your resources to meet the challenge, to try to cope with the stressor. And then finally, we have phase 3. Constant stress is going to cause exhaustion. As time passes with no relief from stress, your reserves begin to run out, and your body copes well with temporary stress, but prolonged stress can damage it. You become more vulnerable to illnesses or even, in extreme cases, collapse and death. Rats show similar patterns. The most fearful and easily stressed rats die about 15% sooner than their confident counterparts. So we do not want to reach this stage. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about stress and health. Psychoneuroimmunology. That's a big word. This is the study of how psychological, neural, and endocrine processes together affect the immune system, resulting in health. So the field of psychoneuroimmunology studies our mind-body interactions. Your emotions affect your brain, which controls the stress hormones that influence your disease-fighting immune system. This field is the study of all of those interactions together. So stress in the immune system. Your immune system resembles a complex security system. When it functions properly, it keeps you healthy by capturing and destroying bacteria, viruses, and other invaders. We have cells that carry out these search and destroy missions. And so the 2 types of white blood cells called the lymphocytes, B, and the lymphocytes, the T lymphocytes, they release antibodies. The B lymphocytes release the antibodies that fight the bacterial infections. So they are going to fight all those bacterial infections that we have in our body. The T lymphocytes attack cancer cells and viruses and foreign substances that don't belong in our body. Our body doesn't recognize it as belonging, so it will attack it. Even the good ones, like it will attack transplanted organs because it's not something that is normally present in our body. Another cell type is the macrophages. These are the ones that identify and traps and destroys harmful invaders and worn out cells. So our immune system battles bacteria, viruses, and other foreign invaders that try to set up housekeeping in your body. The specialized white blood cells that fight infection are manufactured in the bone marrow and stored in the thymus, spleen, and lymph nodes until they're needed. Okay, so stress and disease. Negative emotions and health-related consequences to stress. So if it responds too strongly, the body responds too strongly, it may attack the body's own tissues, causing forms of arthritis and allergic reactions. Okay, so women have stronger immune systems, making them less likely than men to get infections, but this very strength also puts women at higher risk for self-attacking diseases such as lupus and multiple sclerosis. Also a problem with stress is underacting, the immune system may allow the bacterial infection to flare, a dormant virus to erupt, or cancer cells to multiply. So underacting immune system, surgeons may deliberately suppress a patient's immune system to protect transplanted organs because the organs are viewed as foreign invaders. So stress and the immune system. Okay, so this is how the immune system is affected by stress. So surgical wounds heal more slowly in stressed people. In one experiment, 2 groups of dental students received punch wounds, small holes that were punched in the skin. Punch wound healing was 40% slower in the wound wound 3 days before a major exam in a group of wounded before summer than when the group was wounded before summer vacation. So before the exam, they didn't wound nearly as fastly as the people that were given the wound before summer vacation, because summer vacation is definitely less stressful than school. Also, stressed people develop colds more readily. Researchers dropped a cold virus in the noses of people with high and low stress scores. Among those living stress-filled lives, 40% develop colds. Among those living relatively stress-free lives, only 27% receive the colds. Also, low stress may increase the effectiveness of vaccinations. So nurses gave older adults a flu vaccine and then measured how well their bodies fought off the bacteria and viruses. The vaccine was most effective among older adults who had healthy body weight and experienced low stress. So stress and AIDS. So we know that the stress suppresses immune system functioning. What does this mean for people suffering from AIDS? This is acquired immune deficiency syndrome. People with AIDS already have a damaged immune system. The name of the virus that triggers AIDS tells us this. It's HIV. It stands for Human Immunodeficiency Virus. Stress can't give people AIDS, but could stress and negative emotions speed the transition from HIV infection to AIDS? In some already affected, might stress predict a faster decline in those with AIDS? An analysis of about 33,252 participants from all around the world suggests that the answer to both of the questions is yes. The greater the stress that HIV-infected people experience, the faster their disease progressed. So stress does not help. Also, we have personality types that affect our stress levels. We have 2 types of personality. We have the A-type personality. These people tend to be competitive, hard-driving, impatient. They're verbally aggressive and anger-prone, and they're usually more stressed. We also have the easygoing, relaxed type B personality. They don't get worked up or too anxious. Usually they deal better with stress. So we've got the uptight A and the laid-back B. All right, so stressors are unavoidable. We need to stop stressing, however. So, how do we cope with stress? Stress is the reality that we live with, and one way that we can develop our strengths and protect our health is to learn better ways to cope with our stress. So, we need to have cognitive changes. These are changes in our thought patterns. Change the way we think about situations. Try to think of them as more challenges than threats to us. We have emotional coping. This is when we try to use a support system. We need to talk about it with people. We need to get advice. Sometimes we need counseling. Sometimes we need help with a situation so it won't be so stressful. We have behavioral. Sometimes we cause our own stress. If we're taking on too much at school, or if we're taking on too many responsibilities in our community or home, and it's causing us a lot of stress, then perhaps it's time to downsize. Maybe it's time to get rid of some of the extra things we have in our lives and simplify. Try to change our behaviors. to help alleviate some of our stress. And then we have the physical. Sometimes it actually requires medication. Sometimes some of the chemical imbalances in our bodies or the extreme situations we might be facing in a catastrophe or a major life change requires us to have help, medical help. We also, relaxation techniques really have shown to help. Meditation can help, but also exercise. Whenever you exercise, your neurotransmitters work more effectively, and we actually produce things like endorphins that help